The human female wasn't supposed to wake up, hissed Commander Vrax as he paced the command bridge, his forearms gesticulating wildly in what my species considers a sign of extreme agitation. Explain to me, Science Officer Nuzal, how a primitive mammal with barely 2 centuries of spacefaring technology managed to override our most sophisticated memory-wiping protocols. I shifted uncomfortably on my lower appendages. As the ranking xenobiologist on the Harvester-class ship Inevitable Dominance, this failure ultimately fell on my shoulders. Commander, with respect, we underestimated their neural plasticity. The subject. Subject JL 8472. Vrax interrupted, his skin flashing warning patterns of crimson and gold. Use proper designations, Science Officer. Yes, Commander. I pulled up the human's file on my neural display. Subject JL 8472, birth name Jessica Luna, displayed unprecedented resistance to our standard memory extraction and replacement procedures. The human brain appears to have redundancies we didn't account for. Security Chief Krozak snorted from his station, a guttural sound that caused his throat sac to inflate dramatically. Redundancies? That's scientific jargon for we messed up, isn't it, Nuzal? The bridge crew chittered with nervous laughter. I wasn't amused. It's rather more complex than that, Chief Krozak, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. The subject's hippocampus showed signs of previous trauma that had healed in an unusual pattern. We believed this created neural pathways that our memory suppression technology couldn't fully map or erase. Commander Vrax stopped pacing and loomed over me. His breathing apparatus hissed with each exhalation, blowing warm, unpleasant air into my sensory membranes. So what you are telling me is that not only did we fail to wipe the memory of a single human, but we chose the one human whose brain was already damaged in a way that made her immune to our technology? The statistical improbability of that is infuriating. I pulled up the simulation on the main view screen. Not immune, Commander. Just resistant. She shouldn't have retained more than fragments. Certainly not enough, too. An alarm blared, cutting me off mid-sentence. The tactical display lit up like a festival of lights. Perimeter breach at Outpost Zenith 9, barked Lieutenant Drev from the tactical station. Security feeds show, this can't be right. His voice faltered. Speak, Lieutenant, Commander Vrax demanded. It's her, sir. Subject JL 8472. Jessica Luna. She somehow penetrated our outermost defensive perimeter. The bridge fell silent, save for the persistent wail of the alarm. That's impossible, breathed Commander Vrax. Zenith 9 is 3 systems away from where we released her. How could a single human even locate it, let alone breach its defenses? I felt a chill run through my core temperature regulation system. Sir, permission to access the outpost's databanks remotely? Granted, Vrax snapped, and someone silenced that alarm before I have my auditory receptors surgically removed. The alarm cut off, leaving an eerie silence. I quickly established a neural link with Outpost Zenith 9's mainframe and began sifting through the security logs. Commander, I said, my voice barely audible even to myself. The outpost's primary systems were compromised 42 cycles ago. Someone executed a level alpha override using your authentication codes. Vrax's coloration paled to an ashen gray. That's not possible. My codes are quantum encrypted and changed every solar cycle. Nevertheless, I continued, forcing myself to maintain professional detachment. The override was successful. And there's more. The intruder downloaded the entire strategic database. The entire database? Krozak exploded. Means that contains the coordinates and defensive specifications of every Harvester outpost in this sector. I nodded grimly. And the memory wipe protocols. All of them. Commander Vrax slammed all 4 of his fists onto the command console. How? How? She's a primitive with a damaged brain. She shouldn't even remember her own designation, let alone possess the capability to hack into our most secure facility. The main view screen flickered, and suddenly we were staring at the face of subject JL 8472. Jessica Luna. Her lips were curved in what humans call a smile, but there was no warmth in it. Her eyes, an unusual shade of green that reminded me of the toxic seas on our homeworld, seemed to stare directly at Vrax. "Hello, Commander," she said, her voice unnervingly calm. "Missing something. Like, oh, I don't know, your precious security protocols. Your outpost locations? Your super-secret memory-wiping technology that you so kindly tried to use on me?" Vrax straightened to his full height, towering over the rest of us. "This communication is unauthorized. Identify your method of transmission and surrender immediately, or face annihilation." Jessica Luna laughed, not a nervous laugh, or a frightened one. It was the laugh of a predator who knows her prey is cornered. "You really don't get it, do you?" she said, leaning closer to whatever recording device she was using. "You picked the wrong human to mess with. See, before I was an interstellar pilot, I was a neural network specialist. Specifically, I designed memory enhancement implants for victims of traumatic brain injuries." My heart sank. Of all the humans they could have abducted for study, they had chosen one with specialized knowledge in the exact field that would make her dangerous to us. "The implant in my hippocampus," she continued. "The one your scans probably identified as previous trauma? That's experimental tech of my own design. It doesn't just enhance memory, it creates encrypted backups that activate when tampering is detected." Commander Vrax turned to me, his expression murderous. I could only shake my head in disbelief. We hadn't just failed, we had catastrophically underestimated our target. "So while your little mind wipe was running," Jessica continued, "my implant was recording everything. Every code you used, every word you spoke, every system you accessed. And when you dumped me back on that mining colony, thinking I'd just be another confused human with convenient amnesia, my backup memories kicked in. All of them." "Impossible," Vrax whispered, but there was no conviction in his voice. "Oh, and the best part?" Her smile widened. "Your memory-wiping tech? It's based on the same principles as my implant, just cruder. Once I understood how it worked, reverse engineering it was, well, let's just say it wasn't rocket science. Although I am pretty good at that too." A second alarm began to sound, this one more urgent, more insistent. "Commander." Lieutenant Dreb's voice cracked with panic. "Zenith 9 it's gone, sir." "Explain," Vrax demanded. "The outpost's quantum signature has vanished. Complete molecular disintegration. There's nothing left." Jessica's image on the screen showed no reaction, confirming my suspicion that this wasn't a live transmission but a recording set to play when certain conditions were met. "By now you have probably noticed that Zenith 9 is no longer on your scopes," she said, as if reading our thoughts. "Don't worry, I didn't kill any of your people. Unlike you, I'm not into abducting sentient beings and messing with their heads. I evacuated your personnel to the nearby moon. They will survive. Their memories, though?" She tapped her temple. "Not so much." I felt physically ill. "Commander, she's reversed our technology. She's using our own memory wipe against us. And this is just the beginning," Jessica continued. "See, you made another mistake. You assumed humans are individuals, isolated, easy to pick off one by one. But we are not. We are connected. And when you mess with one of us, you get all of us." The view screen split to show a secondary image, a fleet of ships. Human ships. Dozens of them, ranging from small fighters to massive carriers that dwarfed even our Harvester-class vessels. "That's the combined fleet of the United Terran Systems," Jessica explained. "My friends. My species. And they are pretty upset about the whole abducting humans and wiping their memories thing you have been doing. Almost as upset as I am." Commander Vrax had gone completely still, a dangerous sign in our species. "I'm giving you one chance," Jessica said, her voice hardening. "One chance to pack up and leave human space forever. One chance to never, ever try your memory games on another sentient species again. Because if you don't, her green eyes seem to bore into us through time and space. I have got the coordinates of every one of your outposts, ships, and colonies. And I have got an improved version of your memory wipe that works quite beautifully across an entire planetary population. Ask your people at Zenith 9. Oh wait, you can't, they don't remember who they are anymore. The screen went black, but Jessica's voice continued for one final message. You have got 48 hours, Commander Vrax. And just so you know, I'm serious. The entire ship shuddered violently, throwing several of us to the deck. Emergency lighting flashed on as primary systems failed. A hull breach in sections 7 through 12, shouted someone from the engineering station. The weapons systems offline. Engines unresponsive. Commander Vrax clawed his way back to his feet. Status report. What hit us? Nothing hit us, sir, Lieutenant Drev replied, his voice hollow with disbelief. The systems just failed, simultaneously, as if they forgot how to function. I looked at the blank view screen where Jessica Luna's face had been moments before, and for the first time in my long scientific career, I felt genuine fear of another species. She's in our systems, I whispered. She's already inside our ship. Commander Vrax spun to face me. Fix this, Science Officer Newsall. Find a way to counter her technology, or I will have you ejected into space without a survival suit. Sir, with all due respect, I don't think we can win this fight, I said, surprising even myself with my frankness. The human has turned our own technology against us, and she clearly understands it better than we do. Our best option may be to accept her terms. Surrender? To a human? Vrax spat the word like a curse. Never. We are the Harvester Dominion. We do not surrender to lesser species. With respect, Commander, I replied, I'm no longer certain they are a lesser species. The emergency lighting flickered ominously. Commander, called out our navigation officer, we are receiving distress calls from every outpost and vessel in the sector. They are all experiencing similar system failures. Vrax looked around the bridge, at his crew looking to him for leadership, at the failing systems of his mighty warship, yet the coordinates of the approaching human fleet now displayed on the auxiliary tactical screen. Open a channel, he said at last, his voice subdued. To Jessica Luna. As the communications officer scrambled to comply, I couldn't help but reflect on the irony of our situation. We had sought to harvest human memories, believing them to be valuable but ultimately ours for the taking. Instead, one human with her memories intact might just bring our entire civilization to its knees. The emergency lighting stabilized, and a moment later Jessica Luna's face appeared on the view screen again. This time, it was clearly a live transmission. She looked tired, but determined. Commander Vrax, she said without preamble. Have you reached a decision? Vrax drew himself up to his full height. How do I know you won't simply destroy us once we have withdrawn? Jessica's expression remained neutral. You don't. But consider this, if I wanted to destroy you, I could have done it already. Zenith 9 was a demonstration, not an attack. I want you gone, not dead. There's a difference. And my people at the outpost, what have you done to them? They are alive and healthy. They just don't remember being part of your dominion anymore. They have been repurposed. They will live out their lives as peaceful colonists. Vrax's color darkened with rage. You have violated their minds? Jessica's expression hardened. Like you violated mine? And countless others? Don't talk to me about violation, Commander. You forfeited the moral high ground the moment you decided other species' memories were yours to harvest. A tense silence fell over the bridge. I found myself holding my breath, waiting for Vrax's response. And the future of our entire species might hang on his next words. Very well, he said at last. We will withdraw from human space. But this isn't over, Jessica Luna. The Dominion does not forgive, and we do not forget. A small, sad smile touched Jessica's lips. That's where you are wrong, Commander. Forgetting is exactly what you are going to do. Check your central computer. Vrax looked to me, and I quickly accessed the main database. What I found there sent cold dread through my entire nervous system. "Commander," I said, my voice barely audible, "she's uploaded something to our central memory core. It's propagating through our entire network. Every ship, every outpost, every colony connected to our central database." "What is it?" Vrax demanded. "It appears to be a modified version of our memory wipe protocol. But it's selective. It's targeting only our knowledge of humans and their worlds. Nothing else." Jessica spoke again. "Consider it a guarantee, Commander. In 24 hours, no one in the Harvester Dominion will remember humanity exists. You will withdraw because you will have no reason to stay. Your civilization will continue, but without us in it." "You can't do this," Vrax whispered, but there was defeat in his voice. "I already have," Jessica replied, "and unlike your crude attempt on me, my version can't be stopped once it's started. It's quite elegant, really. You should be proud it's based on your design, after all." As the implications sank in, I realized that Jessica Luna had outmaneuvered us completely. She hadn't just beaten us, she'd removed us from the game entirely. "Why not just destroy us?" Vrax asked, genuine confusion in his voice. Jessica's expression softened slightly. "Because that's the difference between us, Commander. You see other species as resources to be harvested. We see them as people to be understood, even when they have hurt us." The transmission ended, leaving us staring at a blank screen and the inevitable approach of our own forgetting. "Orders, Commander?" asked Chief Krozak after a long, heavy silence. Vrax turned away from the screen. "Set course for the homeworld, maximum speed, and prepare the fleet for total database purge." "Sir?" Krozak's voice was incredulous. "A total purge would lose centuries of scientific knowledge. Better to lose knowledge we can rediscover than to have our minds rewritten by a human," Vrax replied bitterly. "Execute the order, Chief." As the crew scrambled to comply, I found myself oddly calm. Perhaps Jessica Luna was right. Perhaps forgetting was the kindest option. After all, we had tried to take her memories, believing them to be nothing more than data to be harvested. She had shown us that memories were so much more. They were identity, purpose, power. And in less than 24 hours we would forget we had ever learned that lesson. "We lost contact with the inevitable dominance 4 cycles ago," said Admiral Tsien, his secondary eyes blinking rapidly as he addressed the High Council. Commander Vrax's final transmission mentioned a human threat and a memory-based weapon. Then, nothing. I shifted uncomfortably in my ceremonial robes. As Archivist Prime of the Harvester Dominion, my presence at this emergency session was unusual. My domain was history, not military strategy. "And why exactly is Archivist Luzak joining us today?" asked Counselor Mivra, her voice dripping with disdain. "Has the situation become so desperate that we must consult our librarians?" Admiral Tsien's skin rippled with irritation. "Archivist Prime Luzak is here because before communication was lost, Commander Vrax ordered a complete database purge. The Archivist Prime's expertise may help us understand why. All 6 members of the High Council turned their attention to me. I straightened my posture and activated my presentation matrix. "Honorable Council," I began 17 cycles ago. "Our research vessel Inevitable Dominance reported a successful memory harvest from a human subject designated JL 8472. The procedure was classified as routine." "Spare us the history lesson, Archivist," snapped Counselor Mivra. "What does this have to do with our current crisis?" I projected an image of the human in question. Jessica Luna. Her green eyes seemed to challenge everyone in the council chamber. "This human," I continued, undeterred, "appears to have reversed our memory extraction technology and deployed it against us on a scale we have never encountered before." The council chamber erupted in outraged chittering. "Impossible," declared High Counselor Drevin. "No primitive species could possibly understand our technology, let alone weaponize it against us." I played the final transmission from the inevitable dominance. As Jessica Luna's ultimatum filled the chamber, I watched the council members' expressions shift from disbelief to horror. The human claims to have uploaded a modified memory wipe protocol to our central database, I explained once the recording ended. If true, every connected system in the Dominion will be affected within. I checked my chronometer, 7 hours. What exactly will this protocol do? Asked Councillor Traz, the only member who maintained his composure. Based on the transmission, it will selectively erase all knowledge of humans and their worlds from our collective memory, I replied. Our civilization will continue, but we will have no recollection of humanity's existence. Then we must disconnect from the central database immediately, declared Admiral Tsien. Isolate all critical systems and purge the protocol before it activates. I shook my head. Too late. The protocol has already reached 87% of our networks. The only systems unaffected are those physically isolated from the central database, primarily ancient archives and deep storage facilities. So we are doomed to forget? Councillor Mivra's voice had lost its edge of superiority. Our mighty dominion brought low by a single human? Not necessarily, I said, bringing up a new set of projections. I have been analyzing the protocol's code. It's sophisticated, but it follows predictable patterns. With access to our oldest memory technology archives on Nexus Prime, I believe I can develop a countermeasure. Councillor Dreven leaned forward. You want authorization to access the forbidden archives? It wasn't a question. The archives on Nexus Prime contained our species' most dangerous knowledge technologies deemed too risky to use, including the earliest versions of our memory manipulation tools. Yes, High Counselor. The human based her weapon on our current technology. The answer to defeating it may lie in our past. The council members exchanged glances, communicating silently through subtle shifts in skin coloration. Very well, Dreven said finally. You have authorization, Archivist Prime. Admiral Tsien will provide a military escort. You have 6 hours before the protocol fully activates. Do not fail us. I bowed deeply. The Dominion's memory shall endure, counselors. 4 hours later, I stood in the cavernous main chamber of the Forbidden Archives on Nexus Prime. Dust covered everything. No one had entered this place in generations. This is a waste of time, muttered Captain Drizil, leader of my security detail. We should be preparing for war against these humans, not digging through ancient data stores. I ignored him, carefully activating the primary access terminal. The holographic interface flickered to life, displaying scripts so old I could barely read them. The first memory extraction technology was developed 8,000 cycles ago, I explained more to myself than to Drizil. Before we refined it for harvesting specific memories, it was designed as a medical tool to help patients forget traumatic experiences. Fascinating, Drizil replied, not bothering to hide his boredom. How does ancient medical technology help us fight a memory weapon? A notification pulsed on my personal communicator. The protocol has reached 93% of our networks, I reported. We have less than 2 hours remaining. Then perhaps you should search faster, Archivist Prime, Drizil suggested with mock politeness. I was about to retort when something caught my eye, a reference to a project called Mnemonic Shield. This could be it, I murmured, quickly accessing the file. Project Mnemonic Shield, a defensive technology designed to protect against memory manipulation. It was abandoned because it had severe side effects, but the basic principles might be exactly what we need. I downloaded the schematics to my personal device and hurried to the adjacent laboratory. The equipment was ancient but functional. What are you doing? Drizil asked, following me. Building a prototype, I replied, already assembling components. The shield creates a quantum resonance field that prevents external memory manipulation. If I can modify it to target the specific frequency of the human's protocol. Drizil watched skeptically as I worked. Even if you succeed, how do we deploy it across the entire Dominion in less than 2 hours? I smiled grimly. We don't. We target the source, the human herself. The human? We don't even know where she is. Oh, but we do, I replied, connecting the final components of my makeshift device. The protocol may be sophisticated, but it still requires a control signal. I have been tracking its quantum signature back to its origin point. The display lit up with coordinates. She's on her homeworld, I said, feeling a surge of triumph. Earth. Earth. Dreziel's communicator chimed. He checked it and his skin paled. The inevitable dominance has returned to our space. Alone, no crew life signs detected. My heart sank. Vrax failed. It gets worse, Dreziel continued. The ship is transmitting the protocol directly to our defense network. Planetary shields are dropping throughout the Dominion. The human fleet, I realized. They are coming. Dreziel nodded grimly, already on the move. Without our defensive shields, we are vulnerable to conventional attacks as well as her memory weapon. I held up my completed device. Then there's no time to waste. We need a ship capable of reaching Earth before the protocol fully activates. You want to go to the human homeworld? Now? Dreziel looked at me as if I'd gone mad. Their fleet is heading toward us. Exactly, I replied. Their forces will be focused on our worlds, and their homeworld will be lightly defended. A small, fast ship could slip through. Dreziel considered this, then nodded reluctantly. My personal transport is stealthed and quick. But this is likely a one-way mission, Archivist. If we fail, our entire species will forget a potential threat, I said solemnly. A threat that knows we exist, while we would not know they exist. The strategic disadvantage would be catastrophic. Then we'd better not fail, Dreziel replied, his hand moving to his weapon. Let's go hunting for a human. But the journey to Earth took longer than expected. By the time we arrived, my chronometer showed that the protocol should have fully activated throughout the Dominion. Every member of our species connected to the central database would now have forgotten that humans existed. Stealth systems at maximum, Dreziel reported as we entered the Sol system. But their detection technology is more advanced than our intelligence suggested. We need to move quickly. I nodded, rechecking my device. The mnemonic shield had been modified to create a cascading feedback loop that should, in theory, reverse the human's protocol and send it back to its source. Jessica Luna would get a taste of her own memory-wiping technology. I have pinpointed the origin of the control signal, I said, bringing up a map on the main display. A research facility in a region they call Colorado. Isolated, mountainous terrain. Good, Dreziel replied, adjusting our course. Less witnesses. How close do we need to get for your device to work? Within 1 kilometer of the signal source, I said. And I will need to personally calibrate it to the exact frequency once we are there. Dreziel gave me a sidelong look. You didn't mention that part before. Would it have changed your decision to come? He barked a short laugh. No, but I appreciate knowing when missions become suicide runs. Our ship streaked through Earth's atmosphere, sensors scanning for defensive measures. Surprisingly, we encountered none. This is too easy, Dreziel muttered as we approached the coordinates. Where are their defenses? The research facility came into view, a cluster of low buildings nestled against a mountainside, surrounded by forest. No obvious weapons, no energy shields, no patrol ships. Land there, I indicated a clearing about half a kilometer from the facility. I will approach on foot to avoid detection. Dreziel brought the ship down smoothly and powered down all systems except basic life support. I will maintain position here. If you are not back in 1 hour, I'm coming in with weapons hot. I nodded and exited the ship, clutching my device. The Earth air was thinner than I was accustomed to, but breathable. The facility looked even more unassuming up close, hardly the headquarters of someone who had brought the mighty Harvester Dominion to its knees. I approached cautiously, scanning for security measures. Finding none, I grew increasingly uneasy. Had we made a mistake? Was this truly the source of the protocol? The door in the nearest building slid open, and a figure stepped out, Jessica Luna. She looked directly at me, showing no surprise at the sight of an alien on her doorstep. "Archivist Prime Luzak," she said calmly. "I have been expecting you." My blood ran cold. How did she know my name? My title? "Surprised?" she asked, gesturing for me to follow her inside. "Don't be. I know everything about your species now. Every memory I harvested from your databases, every thought extracted from your people." The hunter became the hunted, you might say. Against my better judgment, I followed her into the building. A large circular room opened before me, its walls lined with monitors displaying data streams I recognized as Dominion code. "Your protocol has already activated," I said, trying to keep my voice steady while adjusting my device surreptitiously. "My people have forgotten you exist." Jessica nodded, walking to a central console. "Yes, all except you and your companion in the ship half a kilometer away. Captain Drezil, isn't it? The last two members of the Harvester Dominion who remember humanity." She knew about Drezil too. How much had she taken from our databases? "Why?" I asked, buying time as my device calibrated to the local signal. "Why not simply destroy us? Your fleet is poised to strike our defenseless worlds. Why erase memories instead?" Jessica turned to face me, her expression solemn. "Because extinction is final. Forgetting offers the possibility of change. Your species has spent millennia harvesting memories from others, building your civilization on stolen experiences. I'm giving you a chance to build something new, something better. By making us forget?" I scoffed. "How does that help us improve?" "Because I didn't take everything," she replied. "I left the memories of why your ancestors began harvesting in the first place. The desperation, the resource scarcity, the fear of cultural extinction. Your people will remember the problem, but they will have to find a new solution, one that doesn't involve violating other species." My device beeped softly, indicating it had calibrated successfully. One press of a button would send the feedback loop into her system, reversing the protocol. "And if we fail?" I asked, finger hovering over the activation switch. "If we eventually rediscover humans and choose the same path." Jessica's lips curved in a sad smile. "Then we will be waiting, with better defenses and stronger countermeasures. This is your one warning shot, Archivist. There won't be another." I hesitated, my certainty wavering. "Our entire history, our identity as a species is built on the memories we have harvested. Without them, what are we?" "Whatever you choose to become," she replied simply. "That's the gift I'm giving you. A clean slate." My hand trembled over the device. One press and her plan would backfire. The protocol would reverse, restoring my people's memories and wiping hers instead. The Dominion would survive unchanged. But then her words sank in. A clean slate. A chance to become something different. Something better. "How do I know you won't simply destroy us once we have forgotten you?" I asked, echoing Vrax's question from his final transmission. "You don't," she admitted. "But consider this, I could have already done it if that was my intention." The same answer she'd given Vrax. Consistent, at least. I looked around the room, at the data streams showing my civilization continuing changed but intact. At the human who had outmaneuvered us not through superior firepower, but through understanding. Slowly I lowered my device. "A wise choice, Archivist," Jessica said softly. "Now you have a decision to make. You and Captain Drezil can return to your people, maintaining your memories of humanity as witnesses to what happened here. Or you can wipe our memories too," I finished for her. "Make us forget, like the others." She nodded. "Complete the clean slate. But that choice is yours, not mine." I considered my options. To return as one of only two who remembered would make us outcasts, anomalies in a civilization that had collectively forgotten. But to forget would mean surrendering the truth of what had happened here. "If we choose to remember," I said slowly, What guarantee do we have that you won't come after us again? None, Jessica replied honestly. Except that humans generally keep their word. We will leave your species alone as long as you leave us alone. Evolution, not extinction. That's our goal. I thought of the Dominion's long history, the countless species whose memories we had harvested without a second thought. The civilizations we had left broken and confused in our wake. And I thought of the possibility of a different path forward. I will need to consult with Captain Drezil, I said finally. This decision affects us both. Jessica nodded. Of course, use this. She handed me a communication device. It's secure. I will wait for your answer. I left the facility and walked back to our ship, my mind racing with possibilities. Drezil listened in stunned silence as I explained everything. So she's offering us a choice? He asked when I finished. Remember and be outcasts or forget and blend in. Yes, I replied. But it's more than that. She's offering our species a chance to evolve beyond what we have been. Drezil's expression hardened. By destroying our history? Our identity? That's not evolution, archivist. That's surrender. Perhaps I conceded. But what if she's right? What if this is an opportunity, not a defeat? We debated for hours, weighing our options, our duty to our people, our personal desires. In the end, we reached a compromise. When we returned to Jessica's facility, she was waiting patiently. We have decided, I announced. I will remember. Drezil will forget. She raised an eyebrow. An unusual choice. Your protocol removed knowledge of humans from our databases. I explained, but left holes in our historical records. As Archivist Prime, I can fill those holes with alternative explanations, guide my people toward different solutions. But Drezil is a military officer. His absence of memory would raise too many questions. Jessica considered this, then nodded. Very well. And what will you tell your people about what happened here? I looked at Drezil, who stood tall and proud despite knowing he would soon forget this entire mission. I will tell them nothing, I replied. I will simply guide them, subtly, away from the path that led us to conflict with humanity. And perhaps generations from now, when we encounter your species again, we will be ready for cooperation instead of conquest. Jessica smiled a genuine smile this time, not the predatory one from her transmission to the inevitable dominance. I hope so, Archivist Prime Luzak, she said, extending her hand in what I recognized as a human gesture of agreement. For both our sakes. I extended my own hand, completing the ritual. As we prepared to depart, Jessica approached our ship one last time. Remember, Archivist, she said quietly, this was never about revenge. It was about breaking a cycle. I nodded solemnly. Some memories are worth preserving, human, even painful ones, if they teach us to be better. She stepped back as our engines powered up. Safe journey, Luzak. Until we meet again. Until we meet again, I echoed, though I knew it would not be in my lifetime. As our ship broke Earth's atmosphere, I looked back at the blue planet that had changed the course of my civilization. One species remembering, one forgetting, both forever altered by their encounter. Beside me, Drezil prepared for the memory wipe that would remove all knowledge of humans from his mind. He seemed at peace with his choice. Was she right? He asked suddenly. Are we better off forgetting? I considered the question carefully. Not forgetting, my friend. Evolving. There's a difference. As the stars streaked past our view screen, I reflected on the irony that had brought us here. We had harvested memories from countless species, believing them to be simply data to be collected and used. Jessica Luna had shown us that memories were more powerful than that. They were identity, purpose, and sometimes, when used wisely, they could be mercy. The Harvester Dominion would never be the same, and perhaps, just perhaps, that was for the best.